What's up, Internet? We are back with more N64 nonsense. Now, before we continue, I have to address some technical issues because my past several streams have had a lot of cutting in and out and some weird visual stuff, and I have replaced every single cable I have, and I think I finally figured out what the problem is. I think my new upscaler just had some internal damage to it, and it was messing up I think, and this is supposition on my part, but I think what happened is it was messing with swapping signals or something, which is why the screens were flashing black. So next week when we get back into Skies of Arcadia and everything, it should work. It's just gonna look a little less good because I'm using a different upscaler that uses AV instead of component, so it's not gonna look as good, but it should be stable. Anyway, last time we did a bunch of stuff, including GoldenEye, Goldfinger, and now we get to do Harvest Moon 64. Which is a game I reviewed quite a long time ago. This is a personal favorite of mine, as this was the very first Harvest Moon game I ever played. To be fair, back then, this was literally the first, well, the second one available, not the first, but yeah, a lot of people like to think this was the third one because the Game Boy one came out with the Super Nintendo one. That's actually not factually true. The Super Nintendo one came out first, then this one, and the Game Boy version of the Super Nintendo game came out well after this. I've reviewed all of those games. Don't buy the Game Boy version because it's bad. But this one is still probably my favorite. My birthday would be winter, and it always defaults to the 10th, which is actually accurate, because I was born on the 10th of February. Now we gotta name our ranch name. Well, it'll be Faff Ranch. Now, I love this game, but it is definitely very dated. My dog's name will be Faffy, because of course it will be. I think I mentioned this during my review of this game, but there's no way to simply pull something out of your backpack or swap items or put something in your backpack. You have to manually go through your menus and stuff to do it, which is not great. It's very slow, it's very cumbersome. Here's the mayor. No, we don't want to be shown around, because we know everything about this game. This game was not 100% bug fixed. If I recall, if you chop wood while it's raining, there's about a 50% chance every time you chop the wood that the rain will basically just freeze the thing. So this game is actually very, very buggy, but I still love it quite a lot. I think I also mentioned this during my review, but what was it? I was pretty much going for a perfect run through the game because I'd never done that before, because it's actually really hard to get some stuff in this game, and I was so close because I'd gotten this one thing I'd never gotten before, and it's really hard to get. And random happenstance, I got sick on a day where I had to definitely get this thing, and I was just sick, so I couldn't get it, and there was no way for me to get it back, so I lost out on that entire run. Okay, so I think you gotta go where the tree and the doghouse line up, so I think that would be about here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? Nope. Let's try this one. Because I know you gotta look for where the tree and the doghouse line up, and then you gotta dig 10 times, so I think that would be here. It's one of these, next two areas. 8, 9, there it is. There's the music box. Now, if we ever get to be good friends with Rick, which we're not going to do here, and also because he likes the girl I like in Harvest Moon Friends of Mineral Town, we're never going to be friends with Rick. Freaking Rick ruins everything. You can fix that and then give it to a girl to get them to like you a little bit. We'll go up here, because this way we get an introduction to the best Harvest Moon girl, Karen. Because pretty much every Harvest Moon girl is like very, very upbeat, whereas she's moody, she's like rebellious, she's an alcoholic, she's not perfect, she's actually a complex human being. That's why I like Karen. Also, she comes from kind of a family with issues, which makes her probably the most realistic character, and I see a lot of like real life and stuff I've had to deal with in her, so she's kind of like my favorite character. Best Harvest Moon girl. See, this is what you have to do to actually get stuff for putting in your inventory. You have to actually like go through. Can I get the fishing rod from you? Oh, fish, thank you. Man, it's been forever since I played this game. I love this game though. It's so good. Oopsie, that's not the button. I don't think we'll be able to catch a fish to get the power berry from the Kappa, but we'll see. I think we need like a medium or a large. Nope. Also, to get like one, you have to fish at like a dock in the middle of winter, and it's got like a 1% chance. Some of the stuff in this game is just obtuse and bad. This game definitely dated, but you know, I think it's still one of my favorites, even though it is dated. Like, these people have been here since the start of the day, and they will be here until I leave the screen, because they don't have, like, they do ostensibly have schedules, but they don't transition between environments. Like, they don't walk between point A to point B, which they did in Back to Nature, which was basically Harvest Moon Friends of Mineral Town, but on the PS1. And this game uses a lot of the same characters, but a lot of people like to compare this to Back to Nature because it came out at a very similar time, and it just doesn't have the same technology, and it's, technologically speaking, nowhere near as impressive. It's definitely behind the times comparatively for a game that came out roughly around the same time. And of course, this came out on a cartridge-based system, whereas Back to Nature came out on a disc-based system. If I recall, you can climb this tree. It's a little hard to find the hitbox on that. And it's the only way to get up here before you fix the bridge, which is what cost me my perfect run last time. I got sick on the last day of the bridge, which is the day you get a photo for it. And it's the only day in an entire playthrough you can do it. And the people there are asleep. I'm not sure how to actually get down from here. That might be a problem. Oh, this game is so good, though. I quite like Harvest Moon 64. Haven't played it in years. But it's still one of my favorite N64 games. And it's just a very special game to me. I think you are supposed to be able to, like, jump down to the tree, but I'm not sure how yet. There it is, okay. It's just not clear where you go to actually do that jump. Alright, there we go. I think we can go meet one of the harvest sprites in here. Or not. Oh, yep, there he is. And for some reason they speak in Pig Latin. Because they just do. And I think this was like the first iteration of the harvest sprites. Because, yeah, Back to Nature came out after this game, because, of course, this was the second one that came out. And harvest sprites didn't exist in the first one, so it's actually the first iteration of them, yeah. And then in later games, they just became a generic collectible, and I threw that on the ground like a total champ. And now my dog can eat some berries, even though you shouldn't feed berries to dogs. But, man, I love this game. It's slow, it's clunky, it doesn't work half as well as it probably should. And seriously, someone could probably go in and mod this game to work a lot better just using modern, like, quick commands to just put stuff in your backpack and swap tools. Because you can't do that in this game. But still, while this game is definitely very dated, I still say it's probably my favorite Harvest Moon game. Even though there's just a lot of iterations and ways it has been better since. But man, I love Harvest Moon. Harvest Moon is good. I haven't played a Harvest Moon game in a while, though. Alright, so next we're going to play Hercules: The Legendary Journeys. I'm not familiar with this game. I played a lot of N64 games in my day. This is not one I've ever played. That's fine. I don't need to save. That's fine. I think this is based on, like, the live-action Hercules and not the movie. I think. Don't 100% quote me on this, but this certainly doesn't look like Disney's Hercules, which did get a PlayStation game. And a lot of people say that's a really good one, but I don't know, there's not a lot of, like, Disney games that I'm particularly fond of after, like, the 16-bit era. Toy Story 2 was okay, I guess, but that's kind of it. Okay, this looks awkward, but let's listen to this epic tale. Can I skip this? I can't. Oh no, it was Hercules. Was this the live-action Hercules thing that spun off Xena? Because if it did, then this Hercules might actually be good just by virtue of the fact it's tangentially related to Xena. Because Xena is great. Full respect to Xena. Don't care about Hercules, though. At all. Actually, there was a Xena game on the N64 as well. I believe it was like this not very good, like, 2D fighting game. But I remember there being like a really good PlayStation 1 game that was, I think it was like relegated to the PAL region, but it was like a first-person game. That game looked really cool. I saw it once and thought, oh, I'd really like to play that. Oh god, this looks bad. Oh, okay, so C right, for some reason, is first person. C left is back kick. C down is defense and oh god, what is this control scheme? What's the jump button here? Okay, jump is the R trigger. Oh god, this is okay. This is not the best control scheme I've ever seen in a game, but we'll see what we can do. Okay, so we gotta pick up some rocks. Action indicator, okay. So it's contextual, not unlike Conquer Bad Fur Day. You know, I don't say things compared to Conquer's Bad Fur Day favorably terribly often, but I think Conquer might have done this better. Okay, you're Hercules, pick up the rock. There you go. It shouldn't be a weight issue. If it is, that's the problem, because, you know, you're Hercules. Yeah, it's a Hercules game, alright. It's got the most awkward-ass control scheme I've ever seen. But, like I said, I think this was tied to the Hercules TV show that I think spun off Xena, so at least it had that going for it. And nothing else. Oh god, this game is bad. You know, it kind of, sort of, if you squint at it, looks a little bit like the Castlevania games on the N64, except those were kind of good. They were awkward, but they were at least kind of good. I'm not sure I could say that about this game. This game is just, oh god. Just the basic control scheme is... Yeah, this is rough. Yeah, I don't think I ever actually saw the Hercules TV show. I know Xena was a villain in it. That's all I know. Everything I know about this TV show is just what I know from Xena. But I was also a massive Xena fanboy as a kid, so... I think I distinctly remember saying I wanted to be Xena when I grew up. And she gave me a very healthy respect for women. Alright. Can I lift this thing? I can't. Oh god. This is so awkward to control. Oh good, I can kick the crate. Awesome. Yeah, it kind of does feel like the Castlevania games, if made even less competently. And the problem with the Castlevania games was really more they were a product of their time more than anything. But this is just... Oh god, this is bad. Okay, there we go. It's so clumsy. Like, I know I like to give stuff like Gex shit for being just a really awkward, clumsy game, but this game makes Gex look masterful. And that's depressing. Hercules will require extra force to lift a thing. What? He's Hercules! He should just be able to lift it. That's the whole point. Oh god. Button mashing to lift because Hercules isn't strong enough to lift a thing. Oh dear lord. Okay. Jump is the right trigger. This is so bad. Okay. Okay. Let me just... I don't need first-person camera. I just need camera control that isn't garbage for just a sec, Hercules. There we go. Okay. There's a note. No kidding. To break things, use force. Thanks, game. I would have never assumed that Hercules would ever use force on anything. I thought he would have used his wits and charm. Oh, this is bad. Ugh. I mean, I just want to go back and play more Harvest Moon now. That was a good palate cleanser for this nonsense. Climb up, Hercules. Okay, I'm pressing up. He's not... Okay, I have to press left to have him climb upwards, because that's sensible. Okay, so I just have to wait for the camera to auto-center behind him, I guess. That's not good. Okay. Go punch the things. You know, the thing that Hercules is kind of known for. Punch it. Alright. I think we're going to do Hybrid Heaven tonight. That's going to be interesting. That's going to be a much better pugilist game. Although it's horribly broken in a lot of other ways, too. It's also one of the few RPGs on the N64. And one of the few RPGs on the N64 that wasn't styled after Quest 64. Tied with Paper Mario and nothing else. You know, I was thinking about it earlier today, and it's like, I didn't really ever get a Final Fantasy VII. Like, I had an N64 and a Saturn at the time, so I never really, for that time, got, like, a big epic RPG. I think the next big epic RPG I had would be, like, Skies of Arcadia, honestly. On the GameCube. I had to wait, like, a whole generation to get, like, something really exceptionally good for an RPG. And I think it was worth it. I mean, I don't even think Final Fantasy VII's all that good, honestly, but... Oh my god. Oh god, Virtual Hide-Lide. I own that, and it makes me sad. I wouldn't count that. To be fair, the Saturn did have some awesome RPGs. The problem is they're all unbelievably hard and expensive to get, and they were back in the day, too. Oh, I want to play Panzer Dragoon Saga. I wish I could. Wish I had a copy. I wish my Saturn worked so I could play with my satiator. Yes, go to the Scribe's Hut, Herc. Ugh. I do own it. That's the sad thing. I got a Japanese copy of Virtual Hide-Lide just to say I could own it. Would you? Yes, I'd like you to save, except... No, I don't want the Rumble Pack. Go away. Ugh. Man, Virtual Hide-Lide. You know, the sad thing about Virtual Hide-Lide is it's like the fourth Hide-Lide game, and the one before it was actually, for what it was, kind of good. But then Virtual Hide-Lide decided to come in and basically just be the original Hide-Lide again, except more awkward and bad. Yeah, my Saturn's pretty much dead. I can use it, I can use the disk drive, but I can't use the satiator at all, which limits what I can do with it, unfortunately. We're gonna play Hexen! Awesome! Yeah, I need to get a new Saturn, though, which makes me sad. Now, Hexen is weird. Because Hexen was basically id, or Ravensoft rather, decided to try and make an RPG out of Doom. Except it's not really an RPG at all, it's still an FPS. It's just in the Doom engine. See, if you want to actually play what effectively Hexen was trying to be, there was a game that got actually remastered a few years ago called Strife. Not to be confused with the Final Fantasy character that I think is obnoxious. That game is actually what Hexen tried to be. Hexen is basically just a big sprawling FPS, and it's awkward because if you ever played like Doom or Quake or like any of those things where it would say, you know, you've pressed a button so you've opened a thing somewhere, yeah, that'll happen in this game. Except that you have to understand that this game is basically, wow, I'm awful at this. I'm going to do a new game, and we're going to set it on something easier, because I can't be asked. This game will say, basically, you know, when you're in World 2B, that there will be, like, a switch that activated something in World 3X. And you just have to figure out what World 3X is, where it is, and what you did. It's very confusing, and it's all over the place, and it's, like, in a sense, it's the logical conclusion of the old, like, Doom thing. Oh, you hit a button and it did a thing. Unfortunately, it's not a good thing. Okay. I believe we can break this. Yep, and there's stuff behind it. Now, what is interesting is each character class actually does have some differences. They all get different weapons, and they get some different tactics and stuff, like these little, vials we get. There are like other vials, these vials, I believe, which act as sort of grenades, but they behave differently depending on your class. Like one class will throw them out ahead of them, the others will drop them down like Bomberman. So there is a little bit of strategy with who you play as, and your characters each get like upgraded weapons that all behave differently. I think each character gets like 3 weapons though, so it's not too exciting, and you'll be, if I were to play this for an extended period of time, you'd see this mace for a very depressingly long time. Also, this game had platforming challenges, which was bad. But if I can figure out what the button is, it's not that. And I just poisoned myself because I used my grenade on myself because I'm a genius. There it is. You can look up and down. And that's like the one thing this game really ever did for anyone, in the Doom engine anyway, is it let you look up and down in modified camera angles, which never really gets used at all. Hey Sly, how you doing? I saw you commented on the Steam thing I saw. So I hope you picked it up. We're playing Hexen for now. And testing out my other upscaler. Because I think we have to downgrade a little bit. Just to get stable picture. Which I'm sad about, because, you know, Vermilion sent me a really nice upscaler, and it's like, well, yeah, but it seems to be not working right, and it makes me sad, because it actually solved a lot of technological issues I was having, and now I gotta kind of find a way around that. And it's frustrating, because I tried so hard to fix it, and, like, try a million one other things to try and fix the problem. I replaced every single cable I owned, and, like, I really couldn't afford to do that, and it's like, still, it's just, I couldn't do anything about it other than just downgrade my upscaler and hope stuff works out on the back end. Unfortunately, because I'm using AV cables now, doing PS3 stuff, while certainly doable, is going to be a little obnoxious. And there's a few other problems I'm going to have to deal with and figure out how to do, but, yeah, I'm just a little bit annoyed about all that, so we're going to get back to Skies on Monday, I guess. Not sure if we'll do Saturn Day tomorrow, just because, again, my Satiator and my Saturn are kind of dead. I can kind of make something work, but it's awkward. I don't know. Oh god, traps! Yeah, there's a lot in this game that isn't really well explained to you, and you just sort of have to, hopefully you don't get murdered. Oh, well, wish your mom a happy birthday from me. I hope she has a good birthday, and I hope you got some good books you like. Oh god. Man, Hexen is just jank and awkward. I want in. Gimme. Man, it has been forever since I played Hexen. Mostly because it's Hexen. The funny thing is, like, Hexen is a very confusing series because it's not the first game in its series. It's actually the sequel to a game called Heretic. And then Hexen got a sequel called Hexen 2. But then there was also a Heretic 2, which was a third-person game, and it's just all very confusing. Oh, hey, we did a thing. Nice, and we got a green key. It might be swapping video signals, but the thing is, like, it was going through, like, component and stuff, so I don't know. But I've still got the scaler right here, it's just I don't know how to fix the problem. I've gone through and swapped every cable on everything, I've bought new sets of cables for everything, it's like, oh, why is this not working? It was just sad and frustrating. And I know it was making my streams really low quality. Just knowing that I had this problem I couldn't figure out how to fix, and it was just frustrating and embarrassing. I'm hoping I can figure out how to fix the problem in the future, but just for now I think I've got to downgrade until something works out. I was connecting it to the USB port in my TV. Yeah, I was plugging it into my TV. I didn't try other things. I could try that, though, like trying to plug into the outlet I've got. That might do something. Now, if I recall, something rather obtuse in this game. You have to run up here, and then, if I recall, there's like a bell you have to ring. And if you don't ring the bell, wherever it is, oh, it's up there. You gotta ring that bell to advance, if I recall. Oh, you think it's because of my TV, huh? Interesting. I'll do some testing tomorrow or the next day. I gotta do a bunch of tax stuff tomorrow, hopefully, because I'm scared of how much I owe the government. Because of a bunch of nonsense I had to do, but, you know. Tax season, it's one of the scariest points of the year for me because I'm perpetually scared of being audited. Even though I don't think I do anything that really deserves an audit, you know, it's just something I've always been told, don't get audited, it's scary. And I already don't make a lot of money, so, you know, it's just extra stress I don't want or need in my life, but I gotta deal with it. Even though I pay my taxes and, you know, I do everything right, or at least I try to. You know, I report games that get sent to me. I have to go back in time on, like, price charting to figure out what the perceived value of a game was. Oh god. Mincers. Yeah, that might be it. I don't know. See, my TV USB ports are otherwise unused, though. Like, I figure, like, it wouldn't be draining it. Like, if I were to use my computer USB ports, I could understand that because, like, I only have 2 actual USB ports, so I have to, like, hook up a bunch of, like, hubs to make stuff work. And if I, like, plug anything in or jostle anything, like, everything disconnects for a little bit. So, like, if I were using that, I could understand it. But I've got nothing connected to my TV, so I can't imagine that's the issue. But I'll do some testing tomorrow and see what happens. This game doesn't run horribly. There's certainly worse versions of it, but it's not a great game. I don't think the N64 was like a console for FPSs. I know everyone loves Turok. I think it's okay at best, but, you know, like, the one FPS on this console I think was good was, like, Doom 64, and that was kind of it. No one credits that game for being any good. To be fair, Duke 3D, as much as I dislike the character, Duke 3D is legit. It has some of the best level design I've seen in, like, an FPS. Like, they've got really cool, like, 3D environments with, like, tons of crap in it. There we go. Okay, so, now we're in the first stage, because that wasn't even actually a stage. But this is basically a big hub world where we now have to go through and unlock a whole bunch of things, and there should be some... I think there's supposed to be voice for this, but there isn't because N64. But, yeah, so now we get to the problem of this, where we could go into, like, level 1-1, and then, like, hit a switch where, like, something in level 1C will show up, and you just have no idea where or what the game is on about. And Hexen is just so confusing for that, because it's basically a series of, like, hubs with really intricate, like, button switch puzzles and a lot of instant death and traps. So it's not horrible, but I think there's just so many better FPSs out there. I'm not going to say on the N64, because, I mean, I think there's, like, one really good FPS on the N64, but, you know, I think it's not horrible. I don't know how this is going to work, but we have Hey You Pikachu. I don't have the microphone for this. I've never actually played this. My local video store did have this game, but unfortunately they didn't have the microphone for it, so I don't think anyone could actually play it. It did say press start to continue, so we're going to see what happens. This game is legendary for how bad it is to actually voice recognize anything. I think I heard once if you use, like, the term Sega or Sonic, Pikachu gets really pissed off and, like, electrocutes you as well. Because it was during that time. But this is, you know, we've got vocal recognition software. Let's slap that on the N64 and make that work. But as I understand, what they did was when they, like, were recording the vocal recognition stuff, which, to be fair, I don't understand how that works, but when they did it, to record the dialogue in English, they had Japanese voice actors, like, record the lines. And, you know, there's definitely a lot of, like, heavy accents in that just don't really translate well to a native English speaker. So the game actually has a lot of trouble understanding basic native English accents. I'm pretty sure they did the exact same problem with Lifeline on the PS2 as well. Yeah, this game exists. Actually, I think a few months back, I showed off that on the Discord that someone on, I believe, itch.io had released a Game Boy Color demake of this that I imagine also doesn't have microphone connectivity. I can't do anything to this because I don't actually have a microphone, but yeah, basically you try and give Pikachu vocal commands and raise him like a Tamagotchi, and that's everything I know about this game. I've never actually played it myself because, like I said, my video store did have this game, but they didn't have the microphone for some reason, so no one could actually play it. And to be fair, this game is jank as hell from what I understand, so yeah, maybe that's for the best. So let's move on. But yeah, this multi-card has Hey You Pikachu on it for some reason. I want to point out that this is also a multi-card that contains 3, but not the final Bomberman 64 game. Like, you could have put anything in place of Hey You Pikachu and made it work. You know, this is ostensibly an NTSC partition of a multi-cart that contains a PAL version of Earthworm Jim. You could have actually, you know, put the good version, good quote-unquote, the functional version anyway, on here, but you didn't. Instead, you put Hey You Pikachu. Anyway, this will be the last one for this video if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on Twitch, we'll probably be around for another hour or so, but let's play some Hot Wheels. I think I've only ever actually played yes, there we go. I think there's only one Hot Wheels game I've ever actually played, and that was on the GameCube, and it was tied to that, what was it, Highway 35 or whatever that was called? Like, movie series? My brother was really into it. I actually saw this Hot Wheels car in my local grocery store today. Purple Passion, Power Pistons. I was gonna say they're like all labeled with P's. Oh, the Diora with its stupid surfboards. Street Rotor. Stealth. The N64 really does have a metric crap ton of racing games. Some of them are actually really legitimately good too, which is good. Like that Aero Gauge. I think it was Aero Gauge. That Aero Gauge racing game was pretty good. F-Zero, Diddy Kong, which is one of the best racing games, I think. There's, of course, Mario Kart, which people really, really like. I like Diddy Kong better. There's the Extreme G series, which I wasn't a big fan of, but, you know, there's a lot of N64 racing games. I'd say about half of them are actually, like, worth anything, and even then, saying they're worth anything isn't saying a lot. There was Star Wars Pod Racing, which is the only Star Wars N64 game I don't own, and I'm bitter about that because that game's actually quite good, and I have a lot of fond memories of it. Yeah, Matchbox, I don't think I ever really played with Matchbox cars or anything like that. Like, my family was really, really, really poor, so I didn't have a lot of, like, really fancy toys or anything. Let's put it like this, okay? I wasn't super familiar with, like, the actual Transformers toys. I was more familiar with the, like, dollar store knockoffs of the knockoffs of the knockoffs of GoBots. Which is why the two Transformers figures I did have were, like, some of my favorite toys ever. And I'm sad I don't still have them just so I can put them on a shelf. But, like, yeah, I'm not super familiar with Hot Wheels. I'm not super familiar with, like, Micro Machines or any of that stuff, really, but, you know, the games were okay from what I remember, from what I played very briefly, but they were kind of unspectacular. I think you can get that Star Wars Racer on Steam. I know you can get it on a lot of stuff nowadays, but... And I probably should, but at the same time, I definitely want the N64 version just because it's the version I had when I was a kid, but also I have every other Star Wars game on the N64. It would be a shame not to complete the set. Like, I even own Shadows of the Empire, which, that is not a good game. I don't know why people like Shadows of the Empire. I think it's just blinded by nostalgia, but even back then it was a horrible, buggy piece of crap. I just do not understand why people like that game. Oh, dude. Selling Hyperduel for $850. Well, you know, if you want to keep offering me a copy of Hyperduel, you want to grab it on my behalf. I wouldn't say no. Still, it's insane how expensive some Saturn games are getting. Like, even imports are getting really expensive nowadays. It's just depressing, man. As a fan of the Saturn, that makes me angry. I really gotta do my Saturn collection, but I want to do my loot video first, and I'm waiting for one thing to show up. Like, I ordered an Odin, and I'm waiting for that to show up, but I don't know when it's coming, so I'm just sort of, like, waiting on everything. Whoa! Whoa! I've never played the sequel to Star Wars Racer. I know it exists on the PS2. I've never played it, though. I think I've seen one copy, and I think I could buy it on PS4 digitally, but that's the extent I know anything about it. It's true, Shadows of the Empire did come out sort of in a Star Wars drought, and it was a launch title for the N64, but, like, it was a horrible, janky piece of crap. Like, I remember playing it one time with someone I knew, and we got to, like, the Boba Fett fight, which is like I want to say it's like a 2 or 3 phase fight, and the fight broke. And I would love for someone who understands how to make glitches happen to, like, recreate it and show me, just because I kind of have fond memories and want to see it again. But it broke in such a way that, like, you beat the first phase and then he disappears and summons his spaceship. Except what happened is, he didn't disappear, he was standing next to his spaceship, and he had 1% health, his spaceship wouldn't take any damage, and they were both just invincible, and they were just stuck there staring at me. And you couldn't do anything about it, and I've tried many times to recreate that bug, but I just can't do it. Although, to be fair, you know, if you want a Star Wars game that came out before Episode 1 on the N64, Rogue Squadron, which is genuinely the second best Star Wars game ever made. You know, and that had the Naboo Starfighter months before Episode 1 ever came out. That game was so good. Plus, you could fly a Buick in that game, if I recall, although it crashed the game if you did, because I don't think they programmed it right. But, man, I still love Rogue Squadron. Still the best console Star Wars game, I think. No. First being TIE Fighter, good sir. Granted, I've never actually played KOTOR. I really should, but I've never actually played it. But, go play TIE Fighter. It's literally the best Star Wars game. It's the best PC game ever. Let's play a different track. Cold Fusion. That sounds fun. I feel like I should probably play KOTOR because I'm a huge RPG fan. And I like BioWare. Well, I like early BioWare anyway. But I've just never played it. No, I disagree. I've seen people play KOTOR, and it definitely looks good. I would put that as maybe 3rd or 4th or 5th. But I would never put that on top of TIE Fighter. Ever. Or Rogue Squadron. But I totally get why people like it. If I were to list, like, Star Wars games I think are like, top tier, it'd be, like, TIE Fighter, Rogue Squadron, Republic Commando, I think, deserves a lot more credit than it gets. I didn't play much of it, but I remember that game being pretty good. I think Jedi Starfighter, never got a chance to play that one, because my PS2 couldn't read CD-based games, but, what was it, Jedi Knight 2 or whatever. I think that game's okay, but it was overhyped for me, and I played it, and I thought, I mean, you can watch my review on it, I was not terribly impressed with it. I think looking back, I was probably a little harsher on it than I should have been, but at the same time, that game for me was sort of marketed as, like, the best thing ever, and I played it, and it was rather underwhelming. I played Bounty Hunter. That game could have been good, but it had such an obnoxious, confusing system for no reason. The Clone Wars game was super, super jank, and it wasn't a great third-person game, but when it was doing things that weren't third-person shooting or Jediing, it was okay. But I can think of a lot of really crap Star Wars games. Like, there's Masters of Terrakasi. There's, what was it? That really terrible Demolition Derby Star Wars game for some reason. There was, that PC game where for some reason the Gungans decided to colonize the moon, so you just had to go and call all the Gungans because they were Gungans and they were bad. I think there was like 3 different games that were purely Ewok-based, which makes me angry for a lot of reasons. I played the Clone Wars game on... Well, it depends. If you're talking about like the CGI Clone Wars thing, then you might be right. If you're talking about like the movie-based game, that game was actually kind of okay. Based on what I remember for it. Oh, yeah, the Doom game. That was the original Star Wars Jedi Knight as well. Which was Dark Forces. Which I think you can get on PSN for like $5. That game looks kind of weird. I remember that game being important because that was like the first Doom-style game that had multi-layered environments. Like, you could have like 2 different heights of environment in a single room, which was kind of a big deal at the time. Ah, the movie-based one. Yeah, see, I kind of liked that one. I didn't like the being on foot crap, but, like, driving around in a tank or, like, the spaceship stuff, that was okay. I didn't think the tank was great, but, like, the spaceship stuff was nice. You want to talk about crap Star Wars games? Rogue Squadron 3 was awful. Because, I mean, Rogue Squadron was a series about flying spaceships. So, what do you do in the third outing? Not fly too many spaceships, instead run around third-person shooting a whole bunch for some reason. It was just so bad. God, that game was crap. That game makes me sad. Oh, to think about. And that was made by Factor 5, you know, the same people who brought us Turrican, which is really super hard to get a hold of now, too. But, to be fair, they also made Lair, so, you know, whatever. Oh. Oh. Lair was a very early PS3 basically tech demo game where you were flying around as a dragon, and it was pretty much entirely controlled with the controller tilt sensors, which worked about as well as you can imagine. And then they later had to patch in, like, sensible control stick use. Because everyone complained. And then they just kind of went out of business. Man, that was... Lair was bad. I've only ever seen people play it, but damn, Lair is bad. Okay, so... if you're on YouTube, this will be the end of the video, but let's take a look at the last games we played this time as we skip past it, because of course I did. Okay, so, Harvest Moon 64. Very, very rudimentary. Very, very much a sign of its times, but still my favorite Harvest Moon, I think. Hercules is just basically a bad knockoff of Castlevania. And just bad. Hexen, that played well enough, but the whole core concept of Hexen is just not very good. It's ambitious, but not well thought out. Hey You Pikachu is entirely unplayable. Unless you've got the extra peripheral. And Hot Wheels was an underwhelming racing game on a console that was just flooded with the bastards. Based on these past 5 games, would I recommend this cartridge? No. As much as I love Harvest Moon 64, absolutely not. It was the only thing really worth mentioning. But next time, we'll be back with Hybrid Heaven. Oh god, this is going to be interesting. Anyway, I will be back in a sec on Twitch, and if you're watching on YouTube, I will see you next week. Peace out, Internet.